Good afternoon. Happy Wednesday. Hi, Nisha. How are you?
Hi, Kimberly. I'm doing great.
Well, I am so excited we are now officially on our second show. So that's very exciting. And, you know, we had so many amazing uh, uh, comments and feedback from last week's on how heavy is the trauma you carry around. It was such a great conversation that we had with talking about what you can experience, things that you can do. So this week we're even more excited to be here and have another area of trauma that we can kind of have a conversation on. And I think it's one that, Nisha, that probably a lot of people have experienced. You know, Even if they have not been part of domestic or sexual violence, they may have had something, happen in their life that was very dramatic and causes the conversation we're going to have today. What are your thoughts, on where our subject is going to land us today?
Oh, I think it's going to land in the heart of the people because a lot of times we think about things, but do we truly think about them when we're faced with them? Learning to accept things is very challenging. So today's topic is going to be much needed for us all.
I would totally agree with you 100%. So they may say, well, what topic are you talking about on this week? So I guess maybe we won't keep them waiting any longer. So this week, our um, trauma hangup of the week is trust difficult for you when you have experienced trauma? So that's a loaded question. We can find ourselves, experiencing either immediately or down the road or even years from now that all of a sudden, we feel like all of a sudden we're not like functioning, well in working in our professional life or in our personal life, and it is directed uh, to trust issues that come from some type of trauma that you have gone through. And most people don't recognize, what that sign is, but all the symptoms that come as a result are 100% having to do with, you know, what we mechanisms we use to kind of uh, be a barrier between us and dealing with the trust issues that we have. So I think this is a fantastic subject to be, touching on, for that specific reason. You know, what has been your experience as a coach, Nisha, of people that you've worked with, and they sit there and talk about things that they may have gone through. Where does this sit on the on their list of things that they experience most, like, is it in the top three, top two? Is it the first one? What have you seen?
For me, what I have seen a lot is this is a priority for them because they don't know how to trust. And the main thing, or I should say, the main question I get asked is, how do I trust again? You don't know what happened to me. I don't want to trust anyone. The last person I trusted. So we can keep going on and on. Like Kimberly did say, that's a loaded question to ask someone. But when we have trust issues, it not only comes or shows up in our lives personally, but it shows up in our lives on a business aspect and in our relationships. How are we trusting people at home, at work, in our business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did put uh, in the description of today's broadcast is a whole list. I think there is about 10 of them that we're going to kind of touch on today, that are the most common things that people experience when they have had an issue with trust. And, one of the ones that for myself, uh, I could relate to, well, actually, there was two of them. Uh, the first one was withdrawing. I would rather withdraw, I'll withdraw, I'll like crawl in a shell, and versus having to put myself out there and let somebody know that there was, things that I was experiencing that were I either needed help with, or that I was emotionally, in a bad spot, and needed somebody to. I just didn't trust anybody enough to really, other than very superficial acknowledgement of maybe something that I was going through. But other than that, I did not tell people like underneath. And that went for people in business, it went for friends, it went for family. uh, there is very, very, very few people who actually know what I call like the center of the onion, with all the layers, peeled back, and that center part. Uh, not there. Most people have not been successful at getting to that center and taking the time to like figure out what that is. And the other one was for myself was self. Self blame and shame, for what I went through. So, I didn't trust somebody to let them know about something because I was too worried about the amount of shame that I felt, that um, I thought that they would have, they would judge me. And so I never really wanted to say anything because I didn't want to deal with that. And, it took so many years for me to get to the point where I felt, that if I own this story, I don't have to carry that shame or self guilt around. So, you know, what have been like some of your personal experiences that you have felt with trust? Is it been an issue for you, or maybe not one of the ones that was like on the top of the list as maybe something else?
I'm glad you asked. That was a priority. That was, if there was a number one, put that in bold for me, because I didn't know how to trust and I didn't know how to communicate that effectively. So my trust, I was startled easily. It was so easily to startle me because I didn't trust anyone. Sometimes to this day, I still get startled easily, and my children laugh at me. It's not funny. I say that is attached to some of my trauma. And then they look at me differently, and I'm like, oh, yes, now they understand a little bit. And another one for me was my not trusting caused me to have so much anger because I
Mm.
truly didn't understand why I didn't trust. I learned how to get to the root of the problem because why don't I trust this person? This person has never done anything to me. Like Kimberly. Kimberly has never harmed me or done anything to me. So do I supposed to trust her? Absolutely. But the younger me, no. I don't know Kimberly. She may hurt me. The last person I trusted, they hurt. So I was going through that a lot in my head, and it showed in my personal life tremendously. And I'm so grateful to be where I am today.
Oh my gosh, that I'm so glad that you brought that point up. I may not have, thought of that one myself. Is that that when people make comments of, I've had times that being with actually some people that are, a couple of people who've been very close to me, and just out of, you know, conversation, say something that was a huge trigger, and it actually, it, you would think that it probably falls under a couple different categories, but it falls under this for the specific reason that when I felt it, uh, it like kind of like I had a kind of like a physical reaction to it, and
Yes.
it like almost makes me feel like I can't communicate then, like I can't uh, but I have gotten better with the fact that now over the last number of years that if something is said that does have that reaction, I feel comfortable enough with the work that I've done to say, that uh, that comment you made is not sitting well with me. It really, brought me back to a space because people don't know if you don't tell them.
They don't. And we can't assume that they know either. It doesn't matter. They're in their 50s. They should know. Kimberly, I'm here to tell you they don't know because you look perfectly fine. There's no way you could have went through anything. What do you mean
Right.
trigger?
Oh, absolutely. And, maybe we should describe, I think that anybody's been through it, they may understand triggers, but I think for somebody who has not had a, you know, horrific experience that they've gone through, may not really necessarily understand what trigger has to do with, especially those who have been through any type of domestic or sexual violence. And trigger is that it can be a smell, it can be a thing, it can be a noise, it can be something that's said, it can be a tone of voice that is used, and it can be, you can be in a huge group of people and just hear it, and it can like trigger you, or you can be with by yourself. And I know that I've had times of being at home by myself and uh, you know hearing something like speaking outside at a later time at night, and that triggers me because of the experience that I went through. So uh, you know those things that I normally will take a deep take deep breaths. I'll take 10 deep breaths and say, okay, it's not anything, and I will get walk myself through that. um but that's where I don't even like trust myself. It's that trust even
Right.
with yourself to be by yourself with outside the what's the word I'm looking for? From the outside world coming in and possibly, having some type of adverse, uh, uh, you know, conflict, with you, or something happening to you. So that's very much something that I, deal with on a regular basis.
Oh, yes. And when people think of triggers, for me, when I thought of a trigger, I thought when you are going through the trigger, you're supposed to allow yourself to go through it. I just used to brush it off. I don't want that to happen to me. But when you say you take a moment, I really have to be conscious and on a subconscious level, what is going on right now? I hear this sound. It sounds so familiar. Am I safe? Is this harming me right now? So these are the things, and well, I should say some of the things that I take myself through when I am going through one of those triggers. The biggest trigger for me was touch
Mm,
because I was touched inappropriately so many times. When I used to get touched, even the hug, it was a trigger for me. I would still get startled. Like, wait, the last person, and I always go back to that last person, and it's almost like reliving that event over and over and over again. Sometimes that's a trigger, right? But how do we get through that,
absolutely.
Kimberly? How do we get through that, Kimberly? How?
Well, it it takes take the biggest thing that I will repeat always over and over that uh, I never did before, which I have learned to do for myself now, is first off, give yourself a little grace. That uh,
Yes.
it even if you have chosen, like I did for so many years, to ignore it and not deal with it, and still have things that come up, choices that you make or things that come up in your life that are a direct result for uh, you know not trusting people enough to you know have things go differently. um, that I still, what I did take care of it. I did start to confront it. I did start to, so it doesn't matter at what spot that you're at, or how long it's been. If it was it right away, was it, a long time ago. None of that matters. What matters is that when you come into this spot where uh, you recognize it, that's where it matters. Is that
Yes.
uh, you know you are now acknowledging it, you are now speaking about it, you are now choosing, and that's another uh, great word too, is that uh, either we've chosen or we've made the choice. Those two C's, is that what when you make a choice or you choose, what it does is it leads down a road of being able to build confidence, self-worth, self-esteem, uh, and the ability to start having an opportunity to uh, take take a chance to start trusting somebody with your story or what you need or whatever else. And uh,
Yes.
I always say, even with those that are in a situation, is that all it takes is to give yourself 3 seconds to say something where somebody can help you out. And it's the same thing when it goes to looking to see about trusting people again, is that it doesn't have to be something like your deepest darkest secret. It's just like share something that maybe you wouldn't normally share. Give your opinion on something that is uh, would not affect your life one way or the other, which maybe you would always, because you don't trust, or you're so concerned what people would think. Like for instance, if you and I were just having a conversation and you said, I love the color purple, and normally I would be reserved because I'd be like, oh my gosh, like what if she doesn't uh, really like that color, like maybe she's going to make a judge, that trust. So now I've taken it and I'm like, uh, oh yeah, I enjoy purple, but like normally my favorite is like greens and reds. So that is something that's very simple. It's not affecting, it has no direct effect on my life. It has no direct effect on your life. It has no effect on our relationship of how we are interacting. But what it does is that is like allowing for that. It's always, what do they always say? Like the first time you try anything, it's that first time that's the hardest, and then after it gets easier and easier every time you do it. So that would be my number one suggestion of working through it, is you know writing down, like, what is it that you feel uncomfortable doing, and what is it that you would feel comfortable in a certain setting or on the phone or on a Zoom, that you could sit there and say that uh, just take a second and like, okay, I'm willing to share, this, and don't make it where it would turn into something, a deeper conversation that would be, again, closing you off, because you would start feeling anxiety and
Hmm.
you know awkwardness, because you're not trusting the situation. So start out small, and you continue to build. And there's other things that behind the scenes that can be done, but uh, you know that is as a much bigger conversation
Oh,
to have.
yes.
But that is something though that you and I do, though, with the company, is that we do help people that have gone through trauma to start being able to feel like they can connect with those emotions and being able to feel comfortable to bring them out. So what have you found that with some of the work we've done, the work that you've done, and the programs that we have that really speak to trauma and trust, and what are some of the other things like uh, shame, guilt, self-blaming? Like, what are your thoughts on what it is that we can help people really get through?
I like that you asked me that, but I wanted to say something really quick.
Absolutely.
Do you
There is
know you
no
could
certain
make the choice? You can make the choice. You can choose to trust yourself again. When Kimberly just said that you can make a choice, I was just like, oh my goodness, where have you been all my life? Because I didn't know that I can choose to trust myself, And now explaining this to my clients that I have, that you make that choice to trust yourself again, no one else can make that for you. That's something that's really huge that I see when I go out and I deal with a lot of women, and they don't know how to trust to the point where they say, I don't trust everyone that I talk to. And that just like, whoa, 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 whoa. You and I are just meeting for the first time. I have not done anything to you. You have not done anything to me. How about we build a relationship? And those relationships that I build with clients turns into long lasting friendships. And it's because I have learned how to break through that trust barrier, because Kimberly told me that I made that choice to trust myself. So now when I make that choice to trust myself, my clients have no other reason but to say, hey, I don't know why, but I am telling you too much personal information. This is something that I get a lot. I don't know why, but it's so easy to talk to you. And I am just like, okay, but I thought you said you had trust issues. Remember, Kimberly, when you and I met, you say, oh my goodness, it's so easy to talk
Oh,
to you. And I'm just
I
like,
know.
because I don't walk around with this whole magnifying glass trying to judge or say, oh, it looks like she's been through. I don't do that. I put those, my barriers are down, so you have no other reason but to put yours down. And this is how I walk around on a daily basis. So now the clients and the people that I meet, they want to come up and hug me. Remember, that was a trigger for me. Now I'm like, hug, let's hug. That's this is a friendly hug, right? Remember when you're younger,
Right.
nice touch. So
That's
all those
funny.
it come into play. It's like this. It's like this. Just like that. So I love it.
I love, I absolutely love that. It, you know, it brings me back to thinking about, I spent 25 years in corporate sales. And, the number one thing that I was in sales was a relationship builder. So, uh, which seems so opposite of somebody who has trust issues. But here's the thing is that to me, it was, and you, if you've heard enough like stars or especially uh, uh, singers, whether it's, it doesn't matter if they're country or whatever it is they are. Uh, I've heard so many say that in person, they're very shy, they're very timid about, speaking with people. So my sales career was very much like being on a stage. So I could be whoever I wanted to be. So I could pull in and say, oh, I'm this confident and observant person to ask all these questions. But then when I left and, was back in my personal life, I went into, that shell. And, I, uh, so many people uh, had no idea the amount of, uh, trauma I had been through. And when I was in the midst of it, uh, there's people who had no idea exactly what was going on because I was very mum's the word. I just, or if I kind of reflected on something, it was very elusive, in the of what I said. I
Mhm.
made it not as bad as like it was. I just kind of gave it a kind of a gloss over. So, um, so many people had, no idea of exactly, what I was dealing with. So, I that when you made that comment, that's exactly where my thought process went is, what did I, experience all these years of, having to be center stage and get on, speak and, be in front of, large boards and everything to present for contracts and stuff, and no issues. But, once you got me away from it, it was very much, I was very timid. So it's like I had two totally different, personalities, going on.
Ooh, that's good. Personalities. When you have trust issues, you have different personalities because those, like you are at work and you're at home, two different personalities, but the same person. You're still Kimberly no matter where you went, right? But you
Yeah,
had to
absolutely.
separate yourself because of what you're going through. There, I don't see how you're able to manage being up here at your job while going through all of that at home. That right there says a lot. And you need more than just the kudos. You need a purple heart, a purple star, like it's just everything. It looks easy because on the outside, they're like, oh my goodness, Kimberly, you always look so nice. You're number one today. Oh my goodness, you hit the cell today. But on the inside is, do you really know what's going on with Kimberly? You probably don't because I don't trust you to tell you, right?
That's
So
right.
like you said, you
That's
did never go into detail,
200% correct. Yeah. Yeah. I lived, what was actually going on, what it was I was actually experiencing and feeling, was, uh, a much different program. And, which kind of, makes me think too is that, uh, let me know if you ever felt this at all, is that when I was, you know, in the midst of, conversations with people, especially if I was at conferences for work, where you would wind up being a more like intimate, for the evening, going out to dinner and things like that, and people, out of, natural, unfolding when you're in those types of situations is to ask questions about people's life, right? So to find out of general conversation of, who they are, where they come from, all that stuff. And uh, I was very, uh, clear of like, I knew exactly, I used the same answers all the time. It never changed. It was very, basic. And I remember feeling like that uh, pit, like of nervousness. I would feel nervous and I'd feel this like pit in my stomach, because I was always thinking, oh my gosh, what if somebody, finds out, more about it? Like, what am I going to do? How am I going to approach this? Like, you know, uh, like the shame, like, will I be able to even live with the shame that will come with that when they find out? And, it at times now that am I'm at in my life right now, and I think back at those moments, there are times that uh, it does. It makes me sad that I went through that. That's what I was feeling. Uh, that I let it, prohibit me from, moving forward, and so many things, in opportunities to maybe have, friendships or business relationships that could have been at a different level, but because it wasn't, because of the fact that I was so incapable of being able to trust anybody.
Oh yes. That says a lot, a whole lot. Like, whew, whew.
Yeah, like,
That
just
was a deep breath.
take a
That was
minute
for you.
and take that in. That's a lot to unpack,
Yes,
and
it
what
is.
we're sitting here discussing here, and in sharing, and even still today, it brings emotion. I can connect with
Yes.
that emotion. uh, we're not suggesting at all that, like, you go and put yourself in a situation where it would cause more trauma for you to just feel like you had to unpack everything. uh, that's probably not the best avenue for someone to go down that road. Find programs like what Nisha and I have with our company, or if you're working with a therapist, let them know that, like, hey, this is something that I want to work on this. And if you are even it's even hard to, like, say that, send them an email, write it out where you know they can bring it up to you versus you not bringing it up, which is something that I I was really good at starting and stopping therapy for a number of years, and uh, I don't think any of those therapists ever really got to, like, know beyond a certain level, because it was all trust issue, and I was worried how their perception would be of me, which is not what a therapist is supposed to be about. A therapist is supposed to be
No.
about someplace where it's all unbiased, and they just help you deal with whatever it is that you are talking about. And I was just way too worried about that. Somehow I was, had really committed, like, the ultimate wrong, in things that I did, or actions, or being in those relationships, or so I thought for sure that I would be, a therapist would come at me and go, like, why did you do that? Like, what were you thinking? And I was not willing to put myself out there.
No. I like that you said that. What we do for our community is we don't judge. We don't come with the hat on and say, you know what? You know how people come with a notebook and a pad. We don't
Mhm.
come with that. We come with our hearts open, and we hold space for you to understand where you are coming from and where you would like to go. If you are struggling with trust issues, and sometimes understanding what it is and what it looks like, talk with myself or Kimberly, and let's get to the root of your trust issue. It may not be attached to trauma like you think, like I've never been through domestic violence or I've never been sexual assaulted. It can come from a broken home. I don't like using that word a lot, broken, but divorce, two parents separate, your relationship with your siblings, your relationship with your friends. Trust issues does not always have to come from domestic violence or
Yeah.
sexual assault or sexual abuse. I am just here to let you know that are those are not the only two. So let's get to the root of your trust issues. Speak with myself, speak with Kimberly, and let's get to the root of it because you are important. Let's show you how to choose you, how to choose you over and over and over again. I choose you and I trust you. Do you trust yourself? That's the number one question.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, absolutely. And uh, perfectly said, Nisha, because I think that so many stay because they don't even trust themselves, because they're they don't trust that uh, there's validity to their story. They believe
Right.
that that it is their fault, that they did do something wrong. It was a bad choice. I know that for myself, uh, with my first marriage, that I know that I was young and I was determined that, like, this is what was going to happen. My family, didn't feel that uh, that's something that I should have been doing. They felt that, I should, wait and stuff. And I was, the more that, they were against it, the more I was for it. I like
Right.
really pushing for it.
Yes.
And I remember distinctly, after, uh, it was less than a year, I realized that um, all of a sudden, the fun part like came to a screeching halt. And I remember that distinct feeling of um, there was no way I was going to, uh, you know, uh, open myself up, uh, because I did not trust at all. What anybody would, say, to me, especially my family, and they had been so adamant of, wanting me to, take that time, that I absolutely was in a spot where I said, you know, I'm going to just suck it up, and I'm going to uh, just stay here, and I will like figure out how to make this better. And, the only one that really, really, truly paid the price for that was myself, and, then obviously as the years went on and stuff, my children wound up, having to pay the price, because I then had become molded to
Yeah.
that situation. So yeah, I'd like some feedback from you on this. Is that I will never ever forget telling a friend, she's because I remember her saying, like, why don't you, like, why don't you leave, like, you know why do you keep, like, why are you putting yourself in the spot of dealing with this? And so I remember saying is that uh, when I'm here, at the house and stuff, and living within it, um, I feel like I can control the environment, like I control me, myself and stuff, and like be okay. uh, that is such a sign of, if somebody says that things are way worse than what they're trying to say. Is that I had become so immune to what it was that I was living through, that I felt that, at least if I was present, that I could somehow I was like controlling my environment of like what was happening. And in actuality, uh, I was not controlling anything, but I didn't trust enough to let somebody know of like what was going on. I didn't trust enough to, uh, you know, take those steps, to leave, because I felt that, uh, you know, um, that there would be this like anxiety of not being able to, uh, um, have control of like what's going to happen, with what's going to happen if I'm not here. Those who have trust issues from trauma normally will need to have extreme control over their environment, because
Okay.
when they have control, then at least there's something that they feel that uh, that they know and can count on and predict uh, in their life. And in actuality, that really is not happening if they're in the wrong relationship. So, what are your thoughts, as you hear me say that? What does that, resonate in you?
So the main word I kept hearing was control. So what was happening is you became numb to what you're going through. Like you knew you were going through it, but if I can stay here, I can control where it happens, how it happens. Oh, my children won't be around when it happened. Like you started thinking you could control the narrative. In reality, you were only controlling what was inside of your head. Because what happens is they already put what they're going to put out there on us. They already know. They know your abuser knows. And when I tell you they know, they know. So when you try to control things, they come and switch it up. And you're just like, well, I thought That's not how it happens. So when you say you were controlling, that means numbness was starting to sink in. You're starting to become numb. And when you feel numb, everything, all these plays are going on in your head. And it's like, oh, you can run a play now, right? So you might as well go play a game. Let's run a play. But it's
Right.
like,
Right.
in reality, that's not what was happening. You were being traumatized over and over and over. So you were reliving the events in your head before they even happened. It's 6 o'clock. We usually eat dinner. After dinner, I already know what's going to happen. I already know what's going to happen. But that's where your control come in. You're like, wait, it didn't happen the way I thought. So now, what are you going to do? You're not controlling anything. It's just like, what? I lost all control
Yeah.
in my own house? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's deep. It gets deep.
No, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, it feels good to be able to, at this point in time, like, have a little bit of a chuckle, over it, because, uh, you know, number one, I'm not living in it anymore, and I've, worked through it. But yeah, it was not easy. It was, I just remember like how tense I felt, all the time, just,
Yes.
uh, just, I could like feel it in my neck and my shoulders, there's just so many physical things that come when you have this, uh, y- kind of barrier of being able to interact, with the world because you can't trust what will be said or not. So, uh, and being able to achieve things also, that
Yes.
you almost this kind of gets into one of the programs that I designed is that you start self-sabotaging yourself because you don't trust, is that uh, you know you recreate what it is that you don't want to be in, which seems totally uh, you know the wrong thought process that you would assume somebody would be. But generally speaking, that whether it's trust or if there's something else that you're particularly dealing with, you will actually, because you haven't dealt with it and because it has more control over your life than you have over your life, you will recreate that event over and over and over again, through multiple different avenues, because of the fact that you're not facing it, you're not acknowledging it, you're not becoming friends with it, so that uh, you can talk to whatever age that happened. It doesn't matter if it was a month ago or a year ago, or if it was 10 years ago. You have to address it to the age that you're at. And uh, there's so many things that I would love to be able to, that I've spent time going back uh, to that, teenage, person, and, or younger, of like, um, you know, it didn't have to like, it didn't have to be that way. I didn't have to have all these anxieties and stuff. I didn't have to, you know, uh, hurt myself with, anorexia and bulimia. I didn't have to do any of that stuff to try to uh, have some kind of control over my environment. Like, all, like, so much could have, so you talk to that person and let them know, like, like, you're okay now, like, it's all good, to like try to heal, that space, that because you never actually, uh, you may get older and you may, have more experience and more education, for whatever it is that you're doing, but where your mindset is, of your ability to deal with decisions, are, does it's all based on when that trauma happened that you have not dealt with.
Oh, our unresolved trauma can lead to unresolved relationship, unresolved communication, unresolved trust. It's just the list the list can go on and on and on, but we have more to come next week. So,
Absolutely.
of course, stay tuned and make sure you subscribe. That's how you get the
Yes,
notifications to
please
say, hey,
press like, hit the and hit the button, and we thank you, for being with us here today. And one last little shout out is that if you are experiencing any trauma whatsoever, uh, we actually, for those that are watching this either live or recorded, uh, I do have an ebook that is available that gives you some pointers and some explanations of things to look for in trauma. So I will put the details in the description below. So feel free to reach out and find a way to grab a hold of some information that would either for you or somebody else like it's a great little book to have that gives a whole bunch of information. So uh, thanks so much again, Tisha. It goes way too fast every Wednesday.
yes, it does. It does.
It's like, boom,
It
it's over.
does.
So with that,
Right.
uh, I know. With that, we will see you next Wednesday with our trauma hang up of next week. So we'll actually have a guest next week that will be on with us, and we will be having a conversation with them. So please, join us. It's every Wednesday at 8 Eastern, 7 Central, and 5 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. So thanks. Have a great rest of your day, week. And we look forward to seeing you next time on the next YouTube show. So see you later, and
Right.
we will talk soon.
Thank you.